Hello, hello, everybody. Attorney Mario Santos here. Welcome to the first episode of Unlocking Success, everybody. These are going to be a podcast series dedicated to really getting to know and understand how some folks have been able to unlock success, overcome challenges, overcome obstacles, and persevere and come out on top at the end of the day. In this chair right next to me, this is where people from industries across the board that are local to Houston, that are local to the state of Texas, are going to be sitting here to make sure that we make an effort to dissect how exactly they were able to accomplish success. For this episode number one, we're going to make sure that we make an effort to provide as much transparency as we can so that the audience can get to know who we are, who the Santos Law Firm is, our team, our attorneys. And this way you can have a better understanding that what we do is something that we care about tremendously. Each and every single one of our clients are close to our hearts because they've given us the confidence, they've given us the trust to handle and guide them through very serious situations. That could be via the judicial system. That could be via folks who have wronged them. And we're discussing this directly with insurance adjusters, insurance litigators, ultimately people who represent insurance companies of the folks who have wronged our clients. We handle both criminal defense matters. We handle personal injury matters as well. We want to make sure that each case is taken seriously, is looked at closely, is dissected so that we can figure out how can we get you the best result possible. In this series right here, I hope that you truly enjoy every single episode. And as always, we're going to be open with if you have any questions, if you have any suggestions, any tips whatsoever, please provide them in the comment section below. Matter of fact, I would even go as far as subscribing. This way you don't miss any episode whatsoever. We're going to provide you clips. We're going to provide you education. We're going to provide you suspense to make sure that you understand how exactly you can take it to the next level. This has always been of interest to me. This is the reason why I said, look, let's make sure we're dedicating some time to figuring out, can we bring in folks from the real estate industry? Can we bring in folks from the finance industry? Can we bring in folks who are working on venture capital companies? Can we bring in folks who are working on startups that are going to be beneficial towards the community, more importantly, towards Harris County, which is going to be here in Houston, Texas, right? This is where our office is based out of. This is where our headquarters is. And we want to make sure that we're getting to know these industry leaders and ultimately allow you some insight so you can figure out, well, can I get on that same path? Can I get on that same track to figure out how can I become successful? Now, success is ultimately a word that for many has quite different bit of meanings and different bit of definitions as well. But we always want to make sure that for whatever definition you may have, we strive to hopefully give you some insight how you can unlock that success and accomplish that yourself as well. So join me for this ride, guys. I certainly will look forward to doing so. Our first guest here is going to be our senior counsel, and that's going to be attorney Eugenia Mendez. Welcome, everybody. This is the first episode of Unlocking Success. I'm attorney Mario Santos. I am here alongside with our senior counsel, attorney Eugenia de la Torre now, by the way, because she just got recently married. She was attorney Eugenia Mendez, which our clients, current clients may actually recognize. However, she has now engaged and fallen in love and now going through the process of a couple of weddings, actually, because she had her ceremony first, which is by law and required the licensing before a judge. That occurred. And then we had a second one, a small intimate gathering, I understand, with close loved ones and family and friends here in the state of Texas. But the big one is coming. And I think that's going to be truly special for her and her newlywed, of course, Carlos Alejandro de la Torre. And so we're here because I want to make sure that everybody gets to really know us, familiarize themselves with who we are, get to know a little bit better about how we may speak, how we may act, how we may carry ourselves. More importantly, make sure that you guys are aware that we truly care. That's really what it is at the end of the day. That's what we're doing this podcast to begin with, because I want to make sure that there's a lot and clear of transparency in place that everyone can know and say, this is who we're hiring. We're hiring the law firm, the Santos Law Firm, and these are the people who are going to be taking care of my case. These are the people who are going to be taking care of my cause, my interest, my family, my reputation. That's the whole purpose as to us really engaging in this podcast. But simultaneously, we want to make sure that we have these people really understand what are some of the avenues and strategies to unlocking success. So right here, I'll pass it off. Eugenia, tell me a little bit about how you came about to get this role of senior counsel at the Santos Law Firm.
Well, I started working here maybe 3.5 years ago. It's been some time now.
It's been a good journey, don't you think?
Yeah, it's been great. I actually worked in Conroe in Montgomery County for a year prior to becoming an attorney, and I hated my job. It was the worst job any first new baby lawyer can have. And I needed something better, something fun, something where I was going to learn. And somewhere I was going to be challenged. I was not being challenged. And so I started looking for jobs and I came across the Santos Law Firm. I put in my application. I interviewed and I got there and I told Mario, I just need a job. Get me out of where I am. And we had a great conversation. Of course, he asked me, what's the range of punishment for a misdemeanor and a felony? I knew all the answers because I was great.
She did.
And I left. And he was like, we're going to get back to you and we'll give you a call. And hopefully within the next 2 weeks, and you'll have an answer. I don't know, a couple of days passed and nothing. So I picked up the phone and I called the office and I said, are y'all going to hire me? Because I need a job. And a week later, they hired me. And here I am, 3 years later, still here, thriving.
Fantastic. What we recognized specifically was the talent. The dedication, really the perseverance and wanting to make sure that she executed to become the best lawyer possible. At the end of the day, guys, I think that's actually one of the keys to unlocking success. Whatever it is that you do in life, give it your best. Whether that be, hey, I'm going to be answering phone calls at this particular location. I'm going to be the best person when I answer that phone call. I'm going to make sure I have the best attitude when I'm talking to whatever person may be calling. That's the attitude that you need to have. And that's immediately something that I recognized with Eugenia. And I said, wait a second, our clients are going to benefit from having this person who loves being the best at anything that she does. And so this is now, as you mentioned, 3.5 years going here with our office. And it honestly has been going by quickly.
Yeah, it's been the best ride. I mean, to be completely honest, I didn't love answering phone calls at the beginning. But having a great example and a good boss and a good team and a good environment to work in, I think makes all the difference. I think it's super important for young attorneys, older attorneys, seasoned attorneys, experienced attorneys to have a great workplace. And I think that that's what we have here. And that's why we thrive and our clients appreciate us. Not all of them, but most of them they do. 90% of them love what we do. We answer calls. We dedicate time to them on the weekends, after hours. That's our job. We want to take care of our clients.
I agree. That's really also another key of unlocking success, great communication, right? And whatever it is that you do, if you're offering a service, if you're offering a product, you want to make sure that you're providing the best communication possible. In this way, everyone's on the same page as to what could be expected, what could, be the next steps. And this way, you're making informed but educated decisions at the same time, which I think that you, at least in getting feedback, Eugenia, from clients, they really appreciate you. You mentioned, hey, look, if I have to dedicate some time after hours, meaning after office hours specifically, I will make myself available. If the case is that this particular client may not have availability through the work week because they're working full time, it may be a situation where I can make myself available on a Saturday morning. Let's make sure we're keeping you up to speed with what's going on. Has that been something that you have done here within your time at our office?
Yeah, plenty. I think a lot of our clients, they unfortunately have very time-consuming jobs. Some people work in construction, some people work in paving, some people have, these weird, crazy hours where they work 7 days and 7 days no, and 15-hour shifts. And so I have to accommodate to them and make sure that I'm able to also provide them the service that we want to give. I have plenty of clients that will call me and say, Ms. Mendez, I can't get to the office today. Can you take me at 5 o'clock, or can you do it at 10 in the morning on a Saturday? And yes, the answer is yes, but there has to be communication. I think that if you communicate well with your client and the client also is showing you that they want to get a great resolution on your case, I think it's always important to make time and be adaptable to them and to their schedule, like, they are to us as well.
I agree. That's excellent because that is crucial and vital, especially when we're dealing with our area of law, which is criminal defense and personal injury matters. Things, any little minor thing could affect the case entirely, which will ultimately result then having our client's life be affected,
Yeah.
having our client's reputation be affected. And this is where we want to make sure that we're clear and concise, more importantly, straightforward since the get go. At least that's how we've been operating. I think that's how our culture at the office is as well. We want to just be clear cut because quite a bit is on the line here for our clients' cases. Wouldn't you
Yeah.
agree?
Yeah. I mean, and when Mario's saying quite a bit, it can be 20 years, 30 years, life. I mean, it's definitely a lot of time that these individuals are facing in terms of punishment. And so it's super important to have them understand, you know, what we do and what we bring to the table and how we're going to be able to help them. Because if they don't understand, they're never going to appreciate what you do for them. And that's what we do here at the office. I think we dedicate our time to making sure that our client always feels comfortable. And at the end of the day, they're facing a lot of jail time. And so we have to take them through the process, through the client journey, explaining to them exactly what is happening step by step
Yep.
so that they understand why this is the range of punishment that they can be facing. And at the end of the day, we've had clients that are facing 20 years and have gotten 7 or have gotten 3 years in TDC or 2 years in TDC. And families are so genuinely appreciative of our work because the entire time they were talked to, they were communicated, they were educated on a subject matter that they're not familiar with. And so it's super important that we do what we can for them.
I agree. That's something that I've always, even, when I was considering, should I be a lawyer? I looked up some of the main complaints regarding why people were, complaining about their representation. And I found that the largest complaint was communication, not having proper communication with their clients. And I said, how can you provide a service when you're not even really making those efforts to communicate to the client what's going on? Now, as you understand, we handle cases here in law and we take serious regarding client confidentiality. So, in our discussions here in this podcast and in other episodes that we'll discuss, you may hear certain results, you may hear certain case circumstances, but understand this: we're obligated by law, not only that, but also just really our principles and values here at our office. We're not going to disclose clients' names. We're not going to disclose, very similar names either, because we want to make sure that we protect our clients' confidentiality, right? So, with that in mind, Eugenia, tell me a little bit about at least what comes to mind on the best result that you think you've gotten for a particular case, because I'm sure it varies. And look, we get great results here at our office, and Eugenia specifically gets great results as well. That's why she's senior counsel at our office. But
Yeah. And I'm also known as the dismissal queen, so don't forget that.
there you go. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about exactly something that comes to mind that you think this was one of those cases where why I even wanted to become a lawyer.
Okay, so one case that does come to mind because I think I called you and you were in court and I started like kind of hyperventilating because I could not believe that this had happened. This case, I'm sorry, was in the 177th District Court. Very tough judge. I mean, he is tough. He does not play games.
He's a good judge, by the way.
Yeah, he's a great judge and he's very educated on the law, but he doesn't play games. And we had a client who was on a deferred adjudication, which is a period of time where you have to follow certain rules and conditions. And at the end of that time, your case gets dismissed. Well, she violated one of her conditions and she got taken into custody on a violation and was in custody for 8 months. I worked tirelessly for 8 months and I could not figure out what to do. The DAs were on our side. The violation was minor. She had traveled out of town to try and be with her kid because the kid lived out of town, actually out of state, and she lived in Texas because she couldn't get out of Texas and she got desperate and went out to the state where her, I think was her daughter was at to try and be with her, and picked up a violation quickly from the court. And
just to clear up, the violation was because she could not leave the state of Texas.
Yeah, she couldn't leave the state of Texas, and she left to California because that's where her child was at, and picked up a violation. She picked up a traffic ticket that then triggered the district court, and then the district court had no mercy and violated her. 8 months passed. She's in custody. I'm constantly going to see her, in contact with her mom. I mean, there was no way in and out of this. The judge wanted to give her 4 years TDC, and I was trying to get what's called an unsatisfactory termination of your deferred adjudication. And I was begging. I was like, come on, there's no way that we can't get this. And the chief of the court, the DA, was actually very nice.
Very.
And she was on our side and she was vouching with us.
Reasonable.
Yeah, she's reasonable and was like, this is something she deserves. She's had no other additional violations. Let's try to get it. We would approach back and forth. She would come up with me. We'd tell the judge. We'd talk to him. We'd tell him the facts. No, it was a cold no every single time for 8 months. And she was 26 years old. She was young, had her whole life in front of her. And one day, it was a Friday, I decided to go to court and just talk to the judge and see if I can maybe convince him. And maybe he was having a great day that day. And he
Especially on a Friday, guys. Come on.
He said yes.
Main point before you finish that off. It's a situation where our client's case is not on the docket.
Yeah.
So Eugenia was taking the measures to say, let me just go and talk to the judge. It's a Friday.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's in a great mood, because I remember this case very vividly as well.
Yeah.
And it was heartbreaking because unfortunately our client was in custody for those 8 months and she couldn't see her son or I think
her daughter.
She couldn't, I mean, son or daughter. I have both. And unfortunately, me just thinking 8 months not being able to see my kids, it would be heartbreaking and devastating, which it was, unfortunately, because you mentioned you would go. And I remember just, understanding the case where she was heartbroken.
Yeah.
But you ultimately go to this judge on this Friday.
I go to this judge on this Friday, off docket, meaning it was not on the court's calendar that day. And I walk in and I talk to the chief and I said, hey, are you willing to reapproach with me on this case? And she's like, we've done this so many times. He's going to tell you no again. I'm like, let's just try one more time, because we had the hearing set up for, I think, a week from then. And she was looking at 4 years TDC on a violation that I just didn't believe was called for 4 years, but that's besides the point. We go up there, talk to the judge. I made some comment about New York because he loves New York, and I was leaving to New York.
Warming up to him?
Yeah, I was warming up to him. I was leaving to New York in a few weeks, and so I was talking to him, and I said, Judge, I'm here on this case. I want to reapproach. Can we please talk about it seriously? I really want. He just asked me, what do you want? And I said, I want this case to be terminated. He looked at all the stuff. He took about 10 minutes. He came back on the bench and he said, okay. And that's it. He said, okay.
Well, how was that feeling though?
It was such a rush. I think I was in shock. I was so happy, and I ran out of the court and I called Mara. I'm like, I'm running to the jail right now to go talk to her because she's gonna get out. I ran to jail, which is like a block away. It wasn't. I didn't do
from
that
the
much.
courthouse.
I didn't do that much running, but I ran to the jail, and I asked to go see her. I visited her, and has this face like all the way down to the floor because she knew the hearing was coming, and she was looking at 4 years TDC, and she was just like not excited to see me. Not because it's not pleasant, but because she just knew that there could be bad news. And I just told her, you're getting out. And she started crying. Explained to her, I walked her through what happened. She was so happy. It was just such a moment of satisfaction that my job is worth every single minute, every moment that I have to dedicate to these people, to my clients, who some of them end up, you know, they become like not family, but you just grow so close to them because you see them for so long and you see them so consistently and for a year or 2 years. And we've had these cases on our docket for so long. And it's nice to finally see a happy face and tears of joy because they get to go back home and they get to go back to California and be with her kid with no issue. And
Yeah.
so
No, I agree, Eugenia. I
it
think
was
that may
wonderful.
be one of the most rewarding things of being a
Yeah.
lawyer, specifically in our area of law,
Yeah.
when we get that result and you go communicate that to the client, and the client is just in this shock and disbelief as to the result itself, especially after thinking and knowing I'm facing 4 years TDC. By the way, guys, TDC is Texas Department of Correctional Facility. You may hear quite a bit of acronyms here as we're discussing because we're so used to, being in the field and being in the trenches, as I would call it. And we have little acronyms for this and that, but we'll make our efforts to make sure that we'll clarify that for you. But that feeling right there, Eugenia, is really what for me drives me to try to get the best result possible for every single one of our clients. I even get the chills as I'm telling you this because I really, truly, at the bottom of my heart, care about our clients.
Yeah.
Because I always look at the situation where I'm like, how would I want to be treated? If I was facing very serious allegations or if I've been wronged by somebody else, I want somebody who's going to truly care,
Yeah.
who's going to try to put themselves in my position, my shoes, and figure out what can I do to try to get the best result possible. That's how we operate. And
Mm.
literally we have, 3 lawyers here at our office where we don't really just simply pass off our cases, rather we're talking amongst one another. Hey, what's going on with this particular case? What do you think about this strategy? What do you think? These are the circumstances. What do you think? Tell me your perspective. Because we want to know
Yeah.
if we go this route, how are they going to attack us?
Yeah, exactly what we're doing here. We do on a daily basis without the microphone and the lights and the video. We talk about all of our cases because there's cases that sometimes you just kind of lose sleep on and you have to come into the office and say, what do I do? How do I give me another opinion? Give me the devil's advocate because I'm not figuring out the proper solution for this case. And it doesn't mean because we're bad attorneys. It doesn't mean because we're not doing the job right. It doesn't mean because we're not doing the research. It's just because sometimes you need to talk it over with your co-counsels and get the idea from somebody else. And that has happened plenty of times here. I
I
mean,
agree. I mean, I think that's truly why it's called the practice of law, because consistently you're having to engage in practicing how can I get better? How can I develop my strategy, my advocacy, my, communication with clients, communication with court staff, because that matters a whole lot.
yeah.
If you want something to be done, whether it be on docket or off docket, you best want to make sure that you're having a nice conversation or communication
Yeah.
with court staff.
Yeah, because if the court staff don't like you, you ain't getting no reset. You are not going to get no mercy. And you just always have to be pleasant, be in a good mood. This is your job. You got to like what you do.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly as well. Now that we've discussed some of the best feeling here that you can think of, tell me a little bit about one of those cases that, unfortunately you gave it your all, you gave it your best, and it was one of those results where you ended up getting somewhat of a gut punch, I would say, where you thought, man, what just happened? What occurred? Because you made your best effort and you kept the client extremely clear communication every step of the way, and you get hit with a certain result that you were certainly not expecting. Anything that comes to mind to you?
Mm. Yeah. 2 weeks ago, I got the biggest gut punch,
Just
maybe.
recently.
Just recently. That was hard. That was tough. I sat in my car. I cried a little. I called Mario, and I was in complete disbelief of the resolution that this judge gave us. It was a engaging in organized criminal activity. My client was being charged with that crime, and she was alleged to have bought stolen products and was reselling them on Facebook Market and in her community. She didn't know these products were stolen. Of course, there's a bunch of facts that go into all these intricate details, but um, we decided to do what's called a PSI hearing. It's a pre-sentence investigation to where, due to the fact that me and the district attorney could not come to terms with a agreement on an offer appropriate for this case, and so we decided to do that and go to the judge and ask her for punishment. And the judge can give what's called a deferred adjudication through this hearing. And we, I mean, this case was on our docket for so long, and it was one of those cases that just did not deserve. It just did not deserve this amount of jail time. I think, and I've talked to so many people, and they're all just in disbelief that that was the resolution. We presented ourselves at the hearing. I literally gave it my all. I was on my own that day. All her family was there. And after the hearing, the judge went to her chambers for like almost an hour. And I'm like, this is great. She may be considering the best option for us. She's going to consider all the details. The pre-sentence investigation does a report. The report had come back great and in our favor. She wasn't somebody that was going to...
What was the recommendation, by the way, in that report?
Yeah, the recommendation was she was low risk and had to do a thinking for a change class and not somebody that would reoffend. I mean, it was very clear. No criminal history. It was just something where we could potentially get this deferred adjudication, and I really thought we were going to get it. Of course, the client knew the risks, because that's always, we have to be transparent with our clients. We have to let them know that at the end of the day, the judge is the one that has final decision, and the range of punishment was 2 to 20, and she came back with 7 years.
7 years.
Yeah.
No, by the way, from what I can recall here, because I remember this also in discussions with you, this was a person who had 0 criminal history.
0.
A person who had 0 violent tendencies, had a full family here.
Hardworking,
with the understanding that she was engaging in what she believed to be a lawful
legitimate business. Yeah, legitimate business. And judge had no mercy. No mercy.
7 years.
7 years, TDC. And at that moment, of course, I'm composed, and I look over and I asked her if she understood, because she was Spanish speaker. So she had her earphones on because they were translating all this stuff to her. And she understood. She sat down, she took a breath, started crying. And then her kids were there. Kids started crying. Family starts crying. And I mean, I'm not saying like slow tears, like bad, ugly crying, yelling. They didn't let her hug her kids. It was a situation where I couldn't believe what was happening. I did not expect this outcome. Of course, the family, even though we got 7 years TDC, at the end of the day, was very appreciative of my efforts, because we kept in contact with them through every step of the way. We always called them. They always knew what was going on. We called them in for multiple meetings at the office. They knew the risks that we were taking. They knew the work that I had put into it. And, just the education, how I educated them on the subject matter, because they didn't know. They'd never been in the system before. And so nobody knew exactly how things work. And they were appreciative, and I was feeling like I couldn't believe it. I mean,
that's, the unfortunate part in terms of what we do. Sometimes, as Eugenia had mentioned here previously, it's something where you get close to your clients, and believe me not. So there's certain people that when I introduce myself and they find out, hey, you're a criminal defense lawyer, their immediate jerk reaction would be to say, oh, wait a second, you represent criminals. That's not the case, folks. First off, everyone is presumed innocent when there's a formal allegation made. And then secondly, we represent folks from all walks of life. We represent folks who are hardworking individuals.
Great people.
They're, family individuals, responsible, contributing members to our community. We represent police officers. We represent teachers,
Nurses.
nurses, doctors, all walks of life. And it's something where, just because they've been accused, it doesn't mean that they've actually have done what they've been alleged to have done. And in some cases, there's also cases where people are deserving of a second opportunity. And we make our case to the district attorney's office so that they understand that. But unfortunately, in some cases, even though we give it our all, we give it our best, certain circumstances at least are considered by certain judges, and certain decisions are made, just like this one, where it was certainly a gut feeling. I remember you calling me, and I myself felt.
Yeah. He was like, "Are you joking?"
I thought she was kidding.
I was like, "I'm not kidding." He's like, "Stop joking with me." And I said, "I am not joking." I was like dead serious. He's like, "Okay, just tell me the truth." I'm like, "This is the truth. I don't know what else to tell you. Like
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
what's happening. I'm freaking out, walking to my car, and I in the verge of like tears because I just could not believe what had happened, and then all the emotions of the family and just feeling like how could I have done better? It was, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, just thinking about it, I get a little bit choked up once again because I understand that, our client had two minor children that, were really close to her. And unfortunately, seeing their mom be taken away in handcuffs, knowing that they may not see her here for the range of punishment that was issued and sentenced 7 years, it's heartbreaking, but it's part of what we do. And there's, I had given a speech here, I'd say about a month ago, to some high school students who were considering going to law school, and they wanted to get to know what a lawyer does. And so I explained to them that, part of the difficulty in what we do is having this great pressure and and weight on us from not only our clients but their family members as well.
Yeah.
But it's something that at the end of the day, it has to be done, right? And this is where we step in, which leads me to the next question here, Eugenia, because I understand we're kind of running short on time here for you. Tell me a little bit about what do you think actually sets us apart from other criminal defense lawyers, from other criminal defense firms?
I guess just like whenever we go to court, we see you walk into a courtroom and you see tons of people sitting there, tons of individuals charged with cases waiting on their attorneys. And I have gone to court, attended to a client, gone to another court, come back to that same court, and the same people are still there unattended. That to me is just like disgusting because it's why do you not attend to your client on time? We make sure to get up every morning, to have our coffee, to have time with our families, with our loved ones, get in the car, go to court, put our thinking cap on, and let's do it. It's time to go. And you get there and you attack one thing and then another thing, and you have a checklist and we have a calendar, and we move through the docket as swiftly as we can. And if we can't get there on time, we text our clients, we have our office staff call them like, they're there, they're coming, don't get frustrated, we're almost there.
Right.
And a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people don't communicate to them, I'm running behind. It's okay. There's traffic. There's an accident. You got stuck. It doesn't matter. Communicating with our clients, I think, is what sets us apart. I think people appreciate that. And people always tell me in court coordinators, you're always early. You're always on time. You always try to be here for your client. I don't hear that being told to anybody else. I don't know. Maybe they
Which
do.
is excellent feedback, by the way, coming directly from court staff.
Yeah.
But I think to try to sum it up here, I think what we're trying to get to the point of is we care, and communication is key for us, especially when the stakes are high, especially in the areas of law that we practice.
And it's very important that everybody understands that the stakes are always high, whether it's a misdemeanor or a felony case. The stakes are high. Jail time's involved in every case that we have here in our office. Doesn't mean that we care more about felony cases than we do about misdemeanors. It's all the same. We care about our clients individually, and we dedicate our time and work to each case that we have in this office because that's what we do best.
Fantastic. Real quick, briefly, anything that you want our audience here to know specifically about you, and that way they have the understanding, oh, if you hear it or if they know it, this is Eugenia.
I don't know. That's a hard question.
Dismissal queen, guys.
I
Dismissal
am the
queen.
dismissal queen. I'm still winning. Um,
We like competition, by the way, guys. And what she just referred to when she says
yeah.
winning is that she has taken the lead in dismissals throughout this year.
No, and last year, and since I got here.
Allegedly. Allegedly, guys.
I will make sure to kind of screenshot if I can later the individual that's helping us here. I'll put all my dismissals so that Mario can see that I'm still the queen.
There you go.
But
There you go.
no, I just love my clients, and I love working here. I love being able to just speak to new people and get to know new individuals and help them through their hard times and understand them, because they're humans just like us, and just because they did something doesn't mean that they're guilty of it. It doesn't mean that they're bad people. I mean, some of my clients are great people, and they call me on my birthday and they call me on Christmas just like I do to them, and they texted me congratulations when I got married. And it's about building relationships, because these individuals will come back and help you out in life one day. And I just love it. I love my job. I think everybody at the office knows here, and maybe you'll get to see my quirky side. We do more of these podcasts.
We sure will.
Pretty fun.
You will, guys. You will. Certainly. That'll be the case. Anyhow, wonderful. Thank you so much for giving us a little bit of your time here. I know you're very busy.
Thank you for having me. I mean, the best of the best goes first. So thanks.
Fantastic. Enjoy your bridal shower, Eugenia.
Bye,
Take care.
guys.
I have one of our associate attorneys, Mr. Corian Johnson, sitting right next to me here. Corian, how are you doing?
Doing good. Happy to be here.
Feeling well?
Yes, sir.
You know what? We actually have a good potluck lined up right after this podcast
yes.
episode. We're excited because we got some good food lined up. We got some brisket. We got some turkey. We got some dirty rice.
Dirty
as well.
rice.
Man, we got a little bit of everything, and we're so excited for that as well. But you know what? We're going to treat our audience to making sure that we understand who exactly are associate attorneys here at the Santos Law Firm. And Mr. Corian Johnson has had the pleasure to be here with us for now going on 2 years.
Yes,
You
sir.
just hit the 1 year mark a little while ago here, a couple months back.
Yes.
But it's been a true pleasure, Corian, because I in talking to you, I'm proud of your progress, your accomplishments for our clients. More importantly, your dedication. It's something that we always here at the office truly admire, because just one of our principles that we were talking here with our senior counsel, we said, look, I think what sets us apart is great communication with our clients, but that we truly care as well.
Absolutely.
And I think that, observing your handling here of our clients' cases and their interests, it certainly is admirable that you take into consideration every single personal circumstances for each one of our clients, and you try to get the best result possible. Now tell me a little bit about yourself, because I want to make sure the audience knows who you are specifically. I know you have some background here regarding being a prosecutor. How does that feel, by the way?
I mean, it feels good. It was definitely good training. A lot less stressful, because obviously I don't have someone, life in my hands as far as a client, per se. But like I said, it was great training, and, it wasn't any type of pressure. It was just a learning experience.
By the way, where were you a prosecutor at, just so that the people know?
So I was a prosecutor in Victoria County.
Victoria County. Is that closer to Corpus Christi, Texas?
Correct.
Understood. So were you at the beach a whole lot?
No.
Understood. You were fighting for justice. That's what it was.
Yeah, fighting for justice, just trying to get some experience, as a
Understood.
young lawyer, earn my chops, earn my respect, with the craft. So
There you go.
that was the main thing that I was focused on.
So you got an opportunity to really dissect that insight from a prosecution standpoint. At the end of the day, my belief has always been, look, a prosecutor has an obligation to seek justice rather than conviction. Is that how you normally operated there, or what did you find that really stood or allowed some prosecutors to stand apart and set themselves apart from other prosecutors?
I think that's the main thing. One is just being knowledgeable.
Knowledgeable.
Yeah, whether you're a defense attorney or a prosecutor, you just gotta be knowledgeable about, the law, what a person's entitled to versus what they're not, where you have the discretion to do to make certain deals and when you don't have the discretion.
That makes sense.
So it's one is just understanding, I guess the business of the criminal justice system, if that makes sense.
It does.
And then from there, it's just about the work and preparation. Does your colleague respect you? That goes a long way to let you know, okay, well, this person always prepared, they don't waste my time. If it's something they can do, then they'll probably, give you more favorable deals. Obviously, depending on the facts of the case,
Right.
some things cannot be done, and they'll just let you know. So again, they don't waste your time. They respect you as a colleague, and I think
Makes
that
sense because
goes
I
into
know you mentioned, at least from what I understood so far, is that there's quite a bit of pressure because you're now having, clients' lives on your hands
correct.
where they may be facing very serious jail time and they're calling you and relying on you to try to get the best result possible. Do you find that to be, rewarding, or is it more of a burden? Aside from being a prosecutor, now a defense lawyer, what is it from the area of law that you practice that you enjoy the most?
The area that I enjoy the most is just the researching part, just understanding the answer. Because
Got it.
one of the things that when a client calls, they think we know every law known to man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes we may be entering uncharted waters and we got to figure it out. So that's the most rewarding part to me. Well, not say rewarding, but the fun part to me is just one, being knowledgeable as much as I can about
Dissecting the law.
dissecting the law. And then as far as to your point where you said when clients are constantly calling and relying on you, do I find it burdensome or do I find it rewarding? One, you appreciate that they're calling you, that they're putting their trust in you. So you're kind of flattered in that regard that they putting their trust in you.
Yep.
But to really just close on that question, I would say it just reminds me of a quote that my football coach used to tell me. It's like, the fun is not in the preparation, the fun is in success. It's winning the game. So you may hate training, because you're going, they're throwing all their stress and problems on you. So obviously, after a while, that's why we got to make sure that we taking good care of ourselves so we can properly focus and handle their situation. But when we get that good result, when we go through the fire with them and we get a just result, it makes it all worth it.
Fantastic, Corian. I know you mentioned your football coach. Matter of fact, I actually just made it back from the Game Changer Summit. It's a company
yes.
called Chris.
I got to go next year.
Yeah, we'll certainly make sure that you go. And we had an opportunity here to see and hear from Nick Saban, which is a college football coach that built a championship team and just consistently got championships. And so when they're interviewing him, one of the main things that he just mentioned, which is similar to what you just mentioned here as well, they asked him, well, how do you get to get and accomplish these championships? And he says, look, we focus on building and developing leaders. And how do you develop these leaders? They asked him. Look, we want to make sure that with every single one of our team members, we talk to them consistently about being the best that they can be every single day that they're of their existence here on our team, or just simply in their personal lives. Be the best that you can in everything that you do. I think that was really something that hit home for me, because I'm always consistently worrying about how can we consistently develop our culture of leaders.
Mm-hmm.
And for that, you've always heard it, at least I have, in terms of whatever it is that you do, you want to be the best that you can. But hearing it from someone who has acquired and reached a very high level of success, in my opinion, of course, it's something that allows me the opportunity to say, we need to make sure that we're driving that point across every single one of our team members to make sure that they understand, look, guys, whether it be answering the phone, whether it be talking to our clients, whether it be going to court before a judge, whether it be making an argument before a particular prosecutor, whatever it may be, give it your best, give it your all. What have you found here that allows you to be better prepared? I know you mentioned dissecting the law. Is that what you think that has allowed you to be well prepared when making certain arguments before a judge or before, a particular prosecutor?
It does, because, whether you're talking to the prosecutor, you're talking to the judge, you don't have a lot of time to, make your argument. So you got to get straight to the point.
Got it.
You got to have everything prepared, because, when they ask their questions, you got to be able to respond quickly and correctly, because they want to know, again, is this person well prepared? Do they know what they're talking about? Or are they just, blowing smoke?
They're going to sense it.
They're going to sense it. So, again, you got to be ready to come back. And that's part of being prepared. And then, two, you just got to have a confidence. I think you need more confidence as a defense attorney from what I've gotten on this side is that their first knee-jerk response is to tell you no. You know,
You're talking about the prosecution side.
no, from the defense, whether the judge, the prosecutor, you know, anyone, their first knee-jerk reaction is say no, because
For whatever you're asking.
because it's the safe decision.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and nobody's going to question you if you make a safe decision, even if it's wrong. They're like, okay, I see why you,
Right.
you know, made the decision you did. So, you know, we trying to get them to not only make. I'm not saying not trying to get them to be reckless, but just make sure that they're okay. Are you making the right decision? You know, even if it's not, you don't give me everything that I want. I just want to know. I just want to know a prosecutor or a judge gonna make the right decision, and then part of that deals with us in our preparation. I say, Judge, we already have all these questions answered for you.
Briefly, with that thought process in mind, give me an example as to something where you thought, man, the knee-jerk reaction is going to be no, but let me make sure that I educate them as to why we should get to a yes. Give me an example, and that can be, for example, conditions of bond. It could be a particular allowance on a case where we're asking for certain funds to be issued because we're looking for an expert to be assigned and can give us a different perspective as to potentially finding a solution, finding a weakness, finding some type of inconsistency for the investigation that the officers may have handled for the DA's office. What comes to mind specifically on that type of example here, where you said, you know what, I'm coming in prepared because I dissected the law. I know exactly what the judge needs to hear and consider. What comes to mind in that type of situation?
I mean, obviously, addressing conditions of bond is a pretty good one. So, I mean, first thing what we'll do is just talk to the client, talk to the complaining witness if they're available, and just see what happened. Because, I mean, we already had the officer's report. We got, you know, we get the understanding from what the law enforcement officers is, you know, his narration of what happened. But we want to just talk to them specifically, okay, what happened? Okay, where are you at now? Has there been any issues since the day of this incident?
And you're talking to about a complaining witness, which is typically the person who the state has classified as an alleged victim, by the way.
Correct. So we talk to them when we say, okay, so what happened? You know, because a lot of times we don't have the body-worn cameras, their videos of the statement at the time. So we need to talk to, you know, the client, talk to the complaining witness. Okay, what happened? Okay, what's this misunderstanding? What's true and what's false? So we can get a thorough understanding of what took place. Because a lot of times, and I get it, a lot of prosecutors are busy. They have thousands of cases, literally, on their caseload. So they're just going to skim the summary of the report.
Right.
So we got to come with facts that we can clearly show the judge and the prosecutor these are facts. No, we talked to the complaining witness. We have a affidavit of non-prosecution, and I make it more tailor-made, especially if I know I'm going to get a lot of resistance.
I agree. I mean, I think what you're referring to here is, let's say I'm going to give you an example, guys. Here in Harris County, there's quite a bit of cases where allegations involve domestic violence, involve an assault of another individual. And in some of these cases, the majority of the cases actually that we have encountered have been cases where the individuals may have not wanted this situation to escalate to where the point it is now, which is actual formal charges being filed. And, you know, they want the significant other to come back home. They have a family together. They want to continue such relationship. Yeah. And because there's certain conditions that immediately get imposed in cases involving domestic violence where, hey, you can't have contact with this person. Or, hey, you can't go back to this address because we want to make sure that, you know, there's a cool off period to make sure that nothing else happens while this allegation continues on through the judicial system. We want to step in. When we get retained, we want to step in and figure out, okay, let's correct this, right? Because if we have a dad who can't go back home because this misunderstanding occurs and we keep getting phone calls from the alleged victim to say, hey, look, this was completely blown out of proportion. I don't want to proceed. I want this case to be dismissed. And I want to make sure my significant other comes back home. We certainly want to make efforts to try to get our client to go back home. And the way to do that is, just like Corian was explaining here, to make sure that we dot our I's, cross our T's, gather up these details, gather up these facts, and go back and take that to the prosecution, take that to the judge so that they can then consider it specifically and hopefully then amend these conditions that then allow our client to have contact during the pendency of the case, to go back home and be with their family members during the pendency of the case. Those are some of the initial steps that we take when it comes down to allegations involving domestic violence or just simply straight out assault assault allegations, right? Those are the things that we have normally done. And I think that really sets us apart in making sure that we're making those diligent efforts right away. What kind of case here, Corian, has kept you up at night, would you say?
I said the one most recent that we just got resolved was the case. Well, I can't say the client's name, but it's a case where there was a probation revocation. He was set in probation in Harris County, and he also had one in Donley County, which is by Amarillo, Texas, for those who familiar with the area. And then so he brokered a deal. His lawyers in Amarillo was able to broker the deal to say, hey, if he can get reinstated on probation back in Harris County, which is our jurisdiction, they're going to reinstate him in Donley County. Because the reason why that was so important, because he was facing 45 years on his revocation out there. So obviously that no pressure on us, right?
Just 45 years, guys.
Yeah, just 45 years. Nothing too crazy. So we was able to make contact with the prosecutors in this court. We went over the allegation or listened in his motion to revoke his probation here. The prosecutors was very straightforward, basically just telling us like, look, we're not worried about any of these violations. Our only concern is making sure that restitution was paid. That was a condition of his probation. It was a high amount. I think it was around like $8,000.
It's a whole lot.
Yeah, so it was a lot. So we was able to just communicate with him, make sure he was updated. We was able to talk to the family. The family was able to help us in gathering those funds. At first the prosecutor was asking for the full amount, and I was telling him, hey, that's not something we can do within the timeline that we got. But
it's not feasible.
I'm gonna make sure that I'll make sure I give you my word. We're gonna make some good faith payments to where we can put a dent into this restitution fee. So we was able to work with the family. They was gonna make a payment. It was a payment of at first it was $3,000. Another payment was $1,800, $650, and then we was able to get it down to $2,000, a little bit over $2,000.
Okay.
The chief prosecutor wanted like, no, we still want the full amount. So we was able again. You're gonna hear no a lot as a defense attorney. You hear no a lot, but again, we had to still advocate for our clients. Went to the judge. I was at to point out, hey judge, this is what his family is doing while he's behind bars. And he's been in jail in this other county for 6 months. Please consider that a sanction that he learned his lesson. Plus, this is what he's done to, make sure that he makes good on his conditions here, which was the restitution. The judge heard the arguments. She reinstated him, and we was able to submit that paperwork over to his lawyers in Donley County, and then they got him reinstated. They got reinstated. They called us, let us know that he's home. He's been released.
Fantastic.
And that was one of the things where it keeps you up, because you're like, man, 45 years.
And he has family out. I mean, it certainly will affect, not only him, but rather his family, right? And again, a whole lot of lives will be impacted.
Correct. Because like I said, we're going through a fire with him. We're listening to him. He's obviously stressed, going through the motions. And, we get the brunt of it because, we're there. We're the listening ear to vent. He can't say, he can't express his frustrations to the judge or to the prosecutor. So that's what we get into play, because that's why I say attorney and counselor at law, because part of our job description is really to counsel and really to be like a therapist, if you will, to our clients as well.
That's really what it comes down to at the end of the day, because people want to be heard, right? And so the majority of our job is having clients vent and having them understand, their position, or having us understand their position, so that we can then make sure that we strategize and figure out how can we best deploy certain strategies and execute on them, right? And one thing that I like that you just mentioned, Corey, you mentioned you're going to get a whole lot of no's. Has that stopped you at all whatsoever from getting the no's and saying, all right, well, they told me no?
No, I mean, my general personality is more reserved and laid back, but just to be effective with what we do, you got to get a little bit more aggressive. Just, okay, I know I'm going to say no. I know they're going to say no, so you still ask anyway.
There you go. That's what matters at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Even though you walk in there knowing that, understanding that they're probably going to tell me no, trust me, we're going to make that effort. And we're not just going to say, oh, well, they told me no the first time. We're going to come back again and again and again until we get a yes, right?
Yes.
Well, that's our hope, of course. But each case varies, right? There's different circumstances, different cards that are dealt that we then have to figure out how can we play our hand here with these cards to fully execute and try to get the best results for our clients. Briefly here, Corian, tell me at least what do you think our clients could expect if the cases that they're informed, Mr. Attorney Corian Johnson is going to be the one who's going to be leading your case? What do you think they can expect here from you?
One, they can expect to be updated on their case. They can expect that I'm not gonna tell them something just because I know that's what they want to hear. I'm gonna give them a thorough analysis of the case,
Straightforward,
because I want them to wrap their minds around, what to expect.
Good.
One thing they can expect from me is just I'm not gonna let them, overstress. Because a lot of times they say, okay, what's the worst case scenario? Because they want to wrap their mind about it. Oh, okay, so if I do go to jail, how long? I'm like, no. Like, if it's a case that doesn't even involve jail, it's not a jail time type case. I'm like, look, don't even worry about that.
Good.
I try to manage their stress, their expectations, because, like, look, you don't have to worry about jail. But what we want to make sure, what is a threat is a jeopardy. What is that jeopardy is your good name. What this conviction can do towards your good name.
Reputation.
Your reputation. So that's what you need to worry about. That's what we're going to try to fight and make sure that we can preserve your good name. And I try to make sure that they understand what's at stake. Now, if it's a jail time case, we want to make sure that they understand that. But I don't want them to overstress, because I think they suffer more in imagination than from the actual.
I think that's what it is, because at the end of the day, it really consumes them, right? It
Correct.
consumes them if they're just consistently thinking about, am I going to go to jail? Am I going to go to jail? And for how long? And they're thinking about the worst case scenario instead of thinking about the best case scenario that could potentially result.
Right.
And that's actually one of the keys of unlocking success at the end of the day. You can't just simply be pessimistic, guys.
Exactly.
You have to always focus on the optimism as well, the positive side of things, right? Instead of thinking, well, all the bad things that could happen, you know what? You're probably going to attract some of those bad things to actually become a reality. But the majority of the time, the worst case scenario, hardly does it ever come into fruition or into actual reality. Rather, you want to focus on the positive side of things. Well, if I execute this, I'm probably going to get this result, and the probabilities are going to go higher.
Exactly.
That's how you want to carry yourself, not only in our practice of law, rather in anything that you do in life, right? Focus on the positive, focus on the best results possible, and this way you'll find you're going to attract those positive results, right? And so continue focusing on that, guys. I think that's truly something that you want to, unlock in your personal life, in your professional life, to try to aim for that success. I think I'm going to try to wrap it up here, Corian, because I know we have some really good food here waiting for us. But look, guys, this is going to be just our first episode here. Hopefully you got a preview as to who our office is, who our attorneys are, so that way you guys feel comfortable whenever you reach out to our office and you get one of us. Understand it's not only going to be that one particular person, rather we're all working together closely to try to figure out how can we get the best result possible for each one of our clients here, each one of our clients' position and their interests as well. That's what we're going to be focusing on here. So this podcast itself, moving forward, every single episode that we do, we're going to try to mix in some of our team members as well. But specifically, we're going to focus on interviewing top industry leaders across different industries. And that could be real estate. That could be finance, for example. It could be anything regarding loans, anything regarding food industries as well. We want to make sure that we get people who have had struggles, who have had challenges, but they focus on the positive side, they focus on the optimism, and they push through and they persevere and they come out on top, guys. And that could be really all pillars of life, right? I was telling the team here before we began, the 4 pillars that I live by: health, wealth, love, and happiness. But I'm sure it varies across all types of industry leaders, right? And this is the whole purpose of unlocking success in the podcast itself. I want to know and I want to get to know these folks as to, hey, what are some of the challenges that you encountered? How did you persevere and came out on top, right? How did you overcome that challenge? And what exactly are your strategies? What have you done to be able to stand yourself apart from everybody else? That's what I would want to make sure that you guys have as an expectation here moving forward with our podcast. And as far as you having any questions, any concerns, call us. If you have some tips, any suggestions, call us as well, or comment in the comment section here below. Subscribe as well. Thank you guys. Bye-bye.